you're like, wow, that team, look at their statistics, super good. They must go to BlizzCon, right? Well, no, because they're inconsistent, their drafting is wonky at times, and they can't always really unleash their full power level, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and we're going to be starting off today with Infernal Shrines, where you can see their statistics not as good. 30.8% for RPG, whereas SPT still a fairly solid 15-4.
And that's a huge sample size there as well. For them to still have those almost 80% win ratio on one of the most popular battlegrounds is actually truly inspiring.
Very much so. It shows how dominant a team SPT is, but RPG, they have shown that they can get those cheeky wins. Let's see what they could do. ZZH appears to have forgotten his team shirt and is therefore wearing a standard HGC shirt.
So I don't know what happened because, you know, before the HGC broadcast starts, there's always a pre-show segment with people, you know, going on the analyst couch and being interviewed, and the commentators or the hosts are just having a lot of fun with them. And I watched that segment off stream, right? And he was wearing the t-shirt there, so I don't know what happened to the jersey. Maybe he spilled some milk over it, or
sort of drink on it or something. Yeah. Not sure.
Maybe he gave it to a fan too, because unlike other regions, guys, we have a live audience in that studio. So sometimes you will see a lot of girls and actually holding up signs and stuff like that. It's really cool to see how big the Chinese scene there is in China.
It is really cool. It's a cool area to place the studio in. For those who don't know, like we said, it's in a shopping mall. So you can just do your shopping and come in, eat a churro or whatever snack foods they have in China. I've never been. And just go watch some Heroes of the Storm. And that's great. That's awesome. And you could watch these two. If you are in China, you could just walk in and watch these two teams playing right now. Okay, 7 seconds ago by my time. So we have Tassadar making it through the draft with Genji getting banned out in exchange.
Well, and if you know Melody C, then you know how scary he can be on that Tassadar. I think it's by far his most played hero this phase, and he's looking mighty good on that one. Always dropping the shields, always going for those Arcane damage phases in time when it's needed. Let's see. And of course, it's the ideal, the absolute perfect enabler for a Quan Zhao, which you can see in the bottom right now. He's hands down the single most deadly Vala player in the league right now. So if they get the Vala and maybe, you know, pair it off with the likes of Uther, maybe even Brightwing, they can really turn on the show quite a lot. No, I was gonna say, let's not get crazy.
Let's not get crazy. That is a bit too much. Trace is a little bit more reasonable with Tassadar already on the board. So that's a bit more of a sensible ban, I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know like who played the Tracer or SPT. I guess it would be Quan Zhao still, but I can't recall him seeing on the Tracer, like him being on the Tracer. Okay, well, looks like RPG still doesn't want to take the risk. I mean, any ranged assassin you put on Quan Zhao is going to be one hell of a scary sight.
Yes, it is. So, what can be done about it? What are they going to run in exchange? Valor's still available. Greymane's still available. But neither of these teams have taken assassins. Lunara, Greymane, Valor, even Cassia again. The return of Raider. There's so many possibilities for the teams at this point.
We saw it 2 weeks ago by CE. Zuya put on that Rainer clinic, and he now is sitting at a solid 100% win ratio. No problem. Easy peasy. But yeah, those teams are taking their sweet time, and especially SPT, man. They need to double check every hero really well, because RPG is one of the few teams, we said it many times now, but they really know how to read SPT these days. They kind of seem to have figured out how to beat that Titan, where so many other teams struggle all the times, and they deny the Greymane after all. As Tetris said, no assassin really was taken thus far, so they may as well just shut down some of the more dangerous ones. And Lucio getting locked in with that Vala. So the Vala steal from Quan Zhao and the double support with that Lucio. We've seen plenty of Lucio stepping back into the meta.
Have we seen an RPG Lucio this season? Let's have a look.
I'm not 100% positive. I wouldn't even know who played it, Because normally, like, unlike other teams, RPG has that weakness of being relatively unflexible when it comes to the second support role. Chicken will probably jump in, but the last time he played a support, it was Stukov, it was on Tomb of the Spreader Queen, it was against Hot's Lady, and they got demolished.
Last 3 games they played, Lucio was played against them, but they didn't play it.
Exactly.
So this is the first potential Lucio, so this would be like an Infinity Lucio?
Most likely. Most likely.
I like the idea of a Chicken Lucio. That sounds quite fun, but I doubt it. Here we see the Uther coming in for SPT, and they bring out the Lunara for themselves, and Sonya coming in for RPG. So there's the Chicken hero. We're not seeing a Chicken Lucio, so that's almost certainly an Infinity Lucio, unless, I don't know, Locktar Lucio? Locktar Lucio!
But Tetcher, we've seen, we see a pretty unorthodox set of drafts here, I might want to say. Once again, double support versus double support. The one that SPT brought to the table is a little bit more standard, you know, with that Tassadar and Lunara in the mix. The one that RPG drafted is a little bit less common with Lucio now these days. Against Lunara, how do you think does he going to fare? Do you think he's his healing is enough, let's put it this way, to counter the constant AoE poison harassment from Lunara?
Excellent point. With Rhaegar as well, that's a lot of AoE healing.
It is.
But the fact is, Rhaegar's probably going for a Lightning Shield build. I wouldn't hate if he just went for the Q build and just started just making sure that everyone stays healthy. Because yeah, Lucio's really, really good late game once he's got all his talents. Until then, though, there's a lot of game to lose in between the start of the game and late game, which Lunara is really good in.
Alright, we're gonna find out. I mean, it's Infernal Shrine, so relatively little, or both teams are relatively low on globals, right? I think SPT drafted the Dahaka, so they may have the upper hand in that case. Of course, ETC could still go for a stage dive, and especially Wang on that hero has had great results when going for that split push, hard initiating stage dive playstyle.
I would like the hard initiating. Like, what do you think of RPG running Leap into this? Like, just trying to get in before a Divine Shield drops and just try and blow up Lunara or something like that.
I wouldn't hate it, to be honest, but teams are still very reluctant to actually go all in on that Leap. But I agree, I think it would be a nice call to really lock down a squishy target and follow up on the damage. But we're going to find out which path Sonya is going to be built. For now, we're diving into the action here. Infernal Shrines, SPT versus RPG.
Let's turn it up.
Starting in the oh, you go, Cheeky.
I said the last words.
Cheeky.
That's the rules. On the left-hand side, it is RPG with Chicken on the Sonya, Wang on the ETC, Sar on the Lucio, Infinity playing the Rhaegar, and it's going to be Locktar on the Valor.
And their opponents, the super perfect team in the Reds, with Quan Zhao on that Lunara, Melodies he's playing Tassadar, Misaka on Turiel, Soap and Dahaka, and Uther is being played by ZZH. I mean, I can't blame you, Tetra. They are your baby boys for a reason. RPG, your favorite team.
Stuck in there.
Cheeky,
Alright, but yes, immediate lag as I attempt to get rolling here, but I'm good. Yeah,
okay, I'm back now. I think it was just a massive freeze.
Yeah, I'm at 9.
I'm sitting at 7 still, I think.
Okay, I will have a quick refresh.
There we go. In the meantime, while we're figuring out how to sync our clean feeds again, we can talk about some of the level 1 talents here. We see a little bit of deviation coming in here. Sonya going for the shot of Fury, which is something we're not used to seeing at all. I mean, it's a nice thing to basically guarantee to always have enough energy. And I think maybe later, if she combines it with talents like, let's say, the, the Ferocious Healing at level 7, for example, you can always make sure to have that initial Rage Fury Burst to really heal against poison damage from Lunara. I think that could be a route we might be seeing here from Chicken.
Makes a lot of sense. And the Shot of Fury can be really useful. The Ferocious Healing, like you said, can be helpful as well. If not, it just means you have Whirlwind up more often, which means more healing and more hammers if you want to go for that particular style. It just means that you're safe, basically. It gives you a better... It gives you less reason to have to go close to Dahaka when you're in lane, especially.
Okay, in the meantime, we see some quick rotations coming in from SPT. They're trying to soak as much as they can. Lunara, although, you know, her poison damage is strong, remains to be seen how much impact it can have against the combined healing power and from Lucio and Rega. And you mentioned the build coming in from Rega here. True, the Lightning Bond is a go-to, but I wouldn't hate to see Spirit Walker's Grace at level 7 combined with the Tidal Waves at 13, excuse me, because that really allows Rega to spam those chain heals over and over again to really cancel and balance out the damage done by Guan Zhao. Let's see which route they're going to go for.
Let's see which route indeed. Infinity piecing out to the objective straight away. Going to start it thanks to that lightning bond. Him and Sonya are going to attempt to get a super quick clear because they know SPT will try and soak for 4. And the fact is, RPG is still able to soak to 4 at a very close time while still getting a big old 10 lead on the objective. There's 4, so even levels, even talents, and they have an advantage on the objective. All they need to do is to not die as Noctar micros back away from Misaka, who's getting poked down very aggressively here. Good stun by Wang trying to take out the kill, but Misaka is able to pull off into the backline while Wang eats a lot of poison.
Infinity actually held onto his level 4 talent for a long period of time, only to go for the healing totem. That's fair enough too. Like, if you manage to place the healing totem in a safe location that doesn't get immediately destroyed by a Tassadar storm, it's actually alright.
CC on Chicken, he wobbles out. Another beautiful stun by Wang. It's 34-14. This is almost certainly going over to RPG, but look at how low they're going. Suddenly, immediate turn on by SPT, trying to turn it round. We can see RPG having to take a very long way around.
Wang's got it.
Wang sneaks in again, and Sa appears to have come in potentially a bit too aggressively here. Misaka going to come in and attempt to get the kill. Wang dropping low already. Infinity has the totem down, trying to keep him alive. Sa trying to get him out, but it can't make it. The Punisher is pushing mid though. Sa's dropping low. Rhaegar help. Turn on the healing. Turn it up, and Lucio stays alive. That was still 2 kills to 1 in favor of SPT. Punisher goes over to RPG, and that has done some decent damage to the front wall. Won't get any structures apart from the gate, though. The tower is severely weakened and will be able to be taken down very soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, you know, despite the fact that RPG was able to get that first punish, it didn't even get a single tower tetcher. It was baited so well behind the gate, and there was no reinforcements for RPG to really support that push because they dropped so low and lost a couple of team members in the process. So, yeah, they got the objective, but they couldn't capitalize on it. And if you can't capitalize on an objective, you may as well sometimes not go for it after all. So, of course, it's hard to let go, and it's hard to pull back, especially when you're so committed. And Wang actually got a couple of really nice plays in there. But yeah, overall, it didn't really pay off. But it's not the end of the world. They're still managing to keep up fairly nicely in overall XP.
Exactly, they were able to pick up a kill of their own, in fact. They're still keeping up relatively well in XP. They're a little bit behind, thanks to that extra kill and a little bit of really nice rotational soaking, thanks to Dahaka by SPT. The Dividing Wisp gets murdered. First one still remains in the bush, though.
There we go. Lucio, by the way, going for Chase the Base. He doesn't go for the cooldown reduction on his boop, which is normally the go-to talent we see in other regions, especially Europe. Yeah. But Chase the Base, of course, is nice in a way that if you fully stack it up, you have a wider arc and a longer casting range, so it's easier to actually get that value. And against the Dahaka, or even a Turiel that are always going to be in your face, that can actually prove to be quite useful. Now, in the meantime, Wang, we're gonna look at him. I think he's on a good, he's having a good day today. Like, those ETC plays so well done.
Noctar vaulted away from Uther, and Uther was still targeted where he was, so it went to the next nearest thing, and Hammer of Justice a minion. And as such, the stun was burned. Tiny bit of mana, but luckily ZTH is still very healthy in terms of mana, so that's one's not such a huge issue, but a beautiful vault by Valor.
Yeah, and once again, I want to get back on Wang here. I think his performance in that last shrine fight was exceptionally well done. So if he continues to get those good power slides in, if he really continues to make those big plays, maybe even with a mosh pit, we don't know just yet. I think this is going to be the turning point for RPG doing well or not. It's oftentimes, you know, the Warriors, I keep saying, is, to me personally, the most impactful role. If you go for those good engages, if you go for those good lockdowns like Wang just did, you can dominate those team fights. Well done. Once again, Uther is about to fall.
They should. Uther is down, but now RPG should really disengage for a bit while Uther is still here in Ghost form. They need to heal up, sacrifice a couple of the skeletons, make sure Uther's completely gone before they go in and they're healthy so that they don't lose to that armor. exactly what they've done. They're moving back in 28 to 19, and that's forcing SPT back 32 to 19. That's going to be a second RPG Punisher, and this time they've got the full team to push with it.
Exactly. This time they can apply a lot more pressure. They need to be aware of the fact, though, that SPT is going to reach level 10 before themselves. So Wang needs to be careful getting reinforced here by Locktar and Saw. Together they're going to try to take down some of those towers. A lone Impaler just having a good time. You know?
They're already taking down one tower, looking for the gate, and then another one.
Yep.
Speaking of one tower, one down already. Second one is dropped by RPG. They were 4-man pushing. Little bit of poke damage from Jin Zhao, but a little bit of XP. It's caught them up. They were a little bit behind to start with. Now they're even as both teams hit level 10. It is going to be the mosh pit for ETC.
Yeah, the mosh pit being deployed here, reinforced by the Stray from Vala and, of course, the Lucius sound barrier. Very important. There's a lot of protective tool available for RPG right now, but so it is for SPT. The Sanctification, the Divine Shield, double protect, really good. Even Tassadar is infinitely harder to kill when he goes for Archon because he has that double dimensional shift. Cool to see, cool to see. This is going to be a very, very intense teamfight phase.
Indeed, it will be. This is going to be very chaotic. We'll see if the Sanks can turn it around. Right now, for the mosh pit, there's only 2 potential interrupts. There's Sanctification. There's, of course, Isolation and Drag for the tongue. Sanctification has been used to great effect to let people escape the mosh pit recently over the last couple of weeks. Once again, as I say before, I believe it's still technically possible for Uther if he gets the exact perfect angle to interrupt the mosh pit as well with his Q.
As long as Uther doesn't get hit by the power slide, he can actually interrupt the casting animation, putting the mosh pit.
It has to come from above, though.
Exactly, it has to come from above, and then it puts it on a 10-second cooldown because it doesn't interrupt it entirely. Because there's no way.
I mean, actually interrupt it. If he approaches from above, he can stun from outside the mosh pit, I believe.
Okay.
It definitely used to be the case. I don't know if it still is.
I think the range on the hammer these days is too short to actually walk into an ongoing mosh pit. I don't think
range
that's
hasn't been changed. That's the thing. It's just the way it's programmed because the mosh pit, because of the perspective of the game. We'll see. We will see if that's the case. Well, I've not seen it in a while. It's probably been changed. It was a while ago I last checked. But either way, the ones we are sure of are Drag and Isolation. So we'll keep an eye on them. There is Cleanse available though for that.
Exactly. Either way, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Wang's shoulders because he needs to be that stalwart frontliner to set the tone and initiate the teamfight. So from behind with a nice isolation.
Immediate cleanse and sound barrier, but the immediate retreat from SPT. Well, now that sound barrier is down, stun onto ETC, try to lock him down. We see a good scuffle back and forth between the two teams. 11 to 9. This is one of the closer objective fights. All of that damage, that poison and the storms coming in, doing good damage consistently to Locktar. But the AoE healing from Lucio is slowly healing it up. As long as he survives the initial burst like he has now, Ancestral is dropped, trying to turn it around. ETC getting locked down, charged power slide in. Uther is still in a really annoying position. Chicken is surrounded here. Whirlwind's through, but is not able to survive. It's a 1-0 in favor of SPT, and they're trying to drive back RPG.
And I love how SPT put on the pressure on both warriors. Wang and Chicken, they were so heavily pressured because they realized, hey, you know what? The ancestral healing was just used on Vala. There's no way they can protect both warriors now. So we're going to turn on the heat and we're going to focus those guys down. So normally, it is never a good way to put all your resources into focusing a warrior. But when you see those panic buttons, the sound barrier was used earlier, the ancestral healing was used on the Vala, then you can really afford to go for those beefy targets, quite literally, and take them out. And Chicken, unfortunately, didn't have the burrow, it seemed, and went down first, paving the way for SP to dominate. Wang, though, whoa!
He got rooted by the Punisher, started to root, perfectly timed. The Punisher was drawn over though, but the gate down, not a great position for Infinity. Sound barrier having to be dropped, Punisher stun. Looks like they're going to attempt to try and make a kind of counterplay here. They still have Mosh. They decide against it in the end. They were able to clear out the Punisher while only losing the front wall. That could have gone much worse for RPG.
Yeah, considering the fact that they were actually down most of their important heroic abilities and that there was a Punisher pushing against them, they defended that one quite well, not falling behind an overall XP at all by a large margin. Now we see Earth Shield being deployed, additional protection against that Lunar poison damage. Sometimes I would actually love to see the tidal waves a little bit more, because if you land those heals on at least 3 targets, then you have a massive cooldown reduction on your chain heal, which in its own way is very good against Lunara, but looks like Rhaegar goes for the standard route. Not too bad. I mean, the Sonya
alive.
Exactly, I was going to say.
And you would have been right if she did say it. Sonya's getting really pressured. She has Life Funnel, a little bit of extra protection here. Got for a very interesting hybrid build with that shot for just consistent Whirlwinds, due to the fact that she does not have the cooldown reduction on Whirlwind at level 4, because she wanted the extra burst damage the focus attack offers.
Exactly. So Sonya is going to be a lot harder to kill now that there are tools like Urshield available. The Life Funnel, as you said, greatly increasing her self-sustain. And truth be told, Tetcher, there aren't really a lot of interrupts towards the Sonya. The only thing they have is Uther, the Hammer of Justice, and of course the Isolation plus Drag Tongue. But there's only so many things you can interrupt. Either you focus on the Sonya, you may give a sway to Wang on the ETC to go for a mosh pit. If you focus too much on the ETC, Sonya might go on a rampage and tear apart your backline. So timing and cooldown management is going to be of the essence for SPT in those future teamfights. So far, they've been doing a pretty good job.
Yes, they have been. They're looking really good. Lockjar and crew, the RPG crew, have consistently won the majority of objectives. Let's see if they can keep that up. They're still behind an XPE, though. Just the classic SPT map control is just so good.
And if I were SPT, I would totally ignore that shrine in the first couple of seconds. Or, of course, send Dehaka's double soaking in the middle and bottom and just, you know, just try to snatch away a couple of skeletons, buy a little bit more time for Dehaka to soak that 16. And then once that talent advantage is there, you can really afford to go in deep and ham. And they're doing exactly that. Look how they're only focusing on those skeletons on the right-hand side. Misaka going for a nice steal with that Eldrin's Might, stealing away 2 skeletons at the same time. RPG,
yeah,
they need to go.
Trying. They need to do something. Mosh is available.
They can't stay here.
Is already active here. They either need to go all in and try and do something even against level 16, or they need to leave. Looks like leave is the option, but they've left it too late. Wag attempting to CC. Dehaka coming in. Isolation, the cleanse, and the good sound barrier. That's a really nice play.
They can't get out.
Is onto one player. The good Holy Ground mosh pit is cleansed immediately. Wag cancels it and continues to fight, giving as much sustain to a team as possible. Decent area for the totem. Ancestral lands. RPG holding it.
You're doing it.
No 16. They did the objective. Here comes EGC knocking back the burrow shot.
Wow.
The burrow there and the dimensional shift, but both still die. 2 kills to RPG. 15 versus 16. That's China.
Too much healing, and that is China indeed. What a bloodbath, what a fight back and forth. But in the end, I think, Tetcher, there was too much sustain going on for RPG. The proc rock from ETC, the Sonya never falling, always healing, the Lucio healing, the Rhaegar, everything just worked like a charm, and them unlocking the Punisher was just the nail in the coffin. I really thought SPT had it when they locked them in with that Holy Ground on the left-hand side, but they wanted too much. They got too greedy.
To quote, I think, bad 3 doors down, RPG and SPT's kryptonite. They're kryptonite, as ZZH is potentially too far forward. He's able to back up. Punisher gets a single more jump, but that's the first keep of the game, down in favor of RPG. And the fact is, all their forts are wounded, but the difference is, they're all alive.
Exactly, that's the big difference. Only the results matter, and only those catapults matter in terms of dominating the pace of the game. Now, Tetcher, can we just make the biggest of compliments over to those 2 Chinese teams? They make double support look good in those team fights. I know it's not a fan favorite. A lot of people actually want a heavy change in the meta, and I think it's actually slowly starting to appear in other regions. But those double supports fights here in that horseshoe in the top lane at the shrine, that was just insanity.
It was so good, and we saw there the RPG just staying so grouped up. They didn't let themselves get isolated, because this is where all these kills from SPT are coming from. They're not splitting anymore. They're not getting themselves out of position. They're making sure that everyone is in range for the healing, for the proc rock from ETC, for Lucio and Rhaegar healing. They are in control, and they're getting maximum value. All of SPT's damage is basically trickle damage. Even with Archon, it's still AoE trickle damage with Psystorms. With Lugara, it's damage, like by the damage as well. The only burst damage they have is Dehaka and Leaping Strike.
Yeah, Dehaka and kind of the Archon, but that's a long cooldown and it doesn't last until forever. So maybe at level 20, when that Archon is up permanently, they can sort of turn the tides with additional damage. But it's also crazy. Like, if you take a look at the roster from SPT, they have comfort picks through and through. Melody C on Tassadar, Quinn Zhao on the Lunara. They play, like, even Misaka on Turiel is normally an absolute force, but they just can't seem to make it happen. RPG is holding the line.
They are, in fact, holding the line. The isolation from Dehaka, the one little bit of burst they potentially have, is now off cooldown again. so they have the opportunity to attempt to try and turn it around. That's basically the cooldown they have to wait for at this point.
Yeah. Like, isolation is not necessarily a huge burst damage in itself, but it renders the target defenseless, not knowing where to go, you know, not being able to use potential gap closers or escape mechanisms, so that's kind of a pavement. Oh, never mind. Wang here, kind of isolated. They need to be careful. That's huge poison damage.
So much AoE! So much AoE Lucio needs to get near. He comes in. Healing's available.
Taka from behind.
Sneaky little dinosaur. Drops the drag. Immediate turnaround with the knockback. Isolation is dropped. The sound barrier turns it round. RPG moving forward. And they take control. But this AoE poke, this damage is so good. It's actually forcing it Soap to back up. Does he have tunnel? Yes, he does. Round 2. Coming in from behind again. He's found Infinity this time. Ancestral immediately drops Infinity Realize he might die here.
Nobody's dying!
To escape. No one is dying at all, Kendrick, as Wang is taking through this. Mosh Pit is back. They could try a huge turnaround here. Tyrael has been taken out. Sonya holding the line 23 to 17 as RPG are forcing the issue and they take control. They're going to be heading for keep number 2 with another punishment.
Wow. RPG is brute forcing their way to victory here, not giving in an inch. They refuse to run away. They hold their ground once again. In the meantime, there was a mercenary camp knocking on the front door, getting close to the core with 3 catapults. That's actually something they need to take care of as well. But Divine Shield Tetra was ready. I think ZZH on Uther was too far away from Tyrael, who basically got greedy. He really wanted to isolate and chase down people even more. He couldn't reach him, and the Divine Shield, as a result, could have maybe kept the fight stale and stable for SPT. But as it is, RPG going strong. They're on a warpath, and they have a mighty Punisher reinforcing them.
Yes, they do. The keep will certainly drop here. There's minions to tag, even if the Punisher is baited out. They may attempt to end the game here. The pressure is coming on. ETC gets isolated here. The sound barrier doesn't land on him. ETC Storm Shield. Wang goes down, but they still pick off Tahaka. They turn it round. Tassadar barely staying alive. Misaka is in full retreat. Down goes Uther. Lockdown's getting focused. More Storm Shields than ever before are coming out from Rhaegar. Shen Xiao desperately trying to escape. He goes down. With only 2 members alive, RPG move on to the core, and that is gonna be GG. RPG take game number 1 versus SPT.
The big underdog coming out of nowhere in this series, losing early team fights left and right. But when it came to the mid-late game, the double support was too strong for Lunara to handle. The ETC plays, isolating, protecting in the backline. Wang just did everything he could to keep his allies safe, warm, and sound. Really well played by RPG. They continue to impress us against the big top dog that is the Super Perfect team. They don't look super perfect anymore.
They do not. What is it with RPG? How can you look so inconsistent against Hots Lady and KT, but consistently put on some of the best games of the tournaments versus CE and SPT? What is wrong with you? Why are you so weird, RPG? I love you so much.
You now witness the love and hate relationship between Tetra and RPG, but I can totally understand your feelings there, your sentiments, because let's face it, that was not a cheesy victory by, let's say, going for something like split pushing all the time, avoiding team fights, you know. That was an honorable win. They were not afraid to brawl and fight and take SPT head on all the time. They were simply the better team fighting team with a stronger draft. Well done.
Well done indeed. Well then, that's 1-0 to RPG, and
big upset.
Once again, RPG, they need to get only 3 zeros to have any opportunity of making it to BlizzCon at this point. And after that game, it's possible. It's possible we could see RPG come from tied last to BlizzCon.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? In order for RPG to make it to BlizzCon, 2 requirements have to be met. First, they win every single game 2-0. Including this one. So they need to win the second map as well against SPT. Second requirement that needs to be met, the one who's going to play later against BTG will have to lose everything. And only then can they overtake them in overall scores, and maybe even BTG as well. Like, BTG also needs to lose, or at least, actually I think a tie would be best for them. And
BTG can have to get at least 2 3-0s and 1-1-1.
2 2-0s.
Sorry, 2 zeros. Yeah, I keep doing that. 2 0-2s basically,
Yeah.
and 1-1-1. That's the minimum.
And RPG
the
needs to win
RPG
everything.
need.
Exactly.
Yes.
So ideally, for RPG to make it to BlizzCon, BTG is going to play 1-1 against the 1, and then both teams, respectively, both the 1 and BTG, lose everything. And then RPG can make it. But that's...
There's also the scenario that RPG could go 1-1 in this series, and then beyond the game go only 3 zeros. RPG go 2-0 of all the rest of their matches, and there's a tie. So that is also a scenario that could happen.
All right. Those were a lot of numbers, and I'm pretty sure that...
Numbers!